Should it be legal to bring a gun into a bar where the gun carrier is also drinking alcohol? The Ohio Supreme Court heard arguments this morning about whether that's constitutional. The case stems from an incident in Muskingum County, Ohio, near Zanesville back in 2022. Kent State University Director of the College of Arts and Science Pre-Law Center, Christopher Banks, joins us now to explain what the justices are going to have to weigh in this case. So I mentioned in the case that the man convicted of bringing a gun into a bar was in 2022. I was accused of consuming alcohol and was charged for shooting another man in the neck during a fight. His conviction for illegal gun possession in that case was appealed, and the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals agreed. Now this is before the Ohio Supreme Court. So, Christopher, what will the justices have to ultimately decide when they review the gun rights laws?
Well, they have to interpret a U.S. Supreme Court decision that was ruled in Bruin. It's a New York State case versus Bruin is the name of the case, which changed the standard for understanding whether there's a Second Amendment violation. And basically, the person charged in this case is arguing that the possession part of the law that's being applied against him is unconstitutional in light of the Bruin case, which changes the standard to a historical tradition analysis, which means that the court has to look at the ban in Ohio and decide whether it's consistent with historical regulation of that type of activity.
And even if there's a restriction on consuming alcohol while carrying a firearm, do you think that the argument of self-defense could override that restriction? What do you think has happened in other cases?
Well, I don't know the particulars about self-defense in this particular case, but I don't think that's going to override the general constitutional standard that's applied in the U.S. Supreme Court and, of course, implicitly in Ohio.
And what do you believe the Supreme Court justices are going to ultimately decide when they look at this?
You're talking about the Ohio Supreme Court. Well, it is a conservative majority. It's 6-1, basically, and they're going to follow, I would think, the U.S. Supreme Court standard, which is exploring a little bit whether the particular ban in this case is consistent with history and tradition of regulating that type of activity consistent with ultimately the Second Amendment. My guess is that they probably would go along with allowing the gun rights claim to go in the favor of the person who is being charged. So I think it would probably go that way because generally the conservatives on the court tend to agree with Second Amendment claims that say that those rights are violated with unconstitutional type regulations in law. So I think that's probably the direction it's going to go in.
The U.S. Supreme Court is also hearing cases as it kicks off its new 9-month term this month. This is week 1, and it's centering around a law banning conversion therapy, which focuses on changing a minor's gender identity or sexual orientation. Can you explain what the justices are going to have to weigh in on and how this plays maybe into the rights of the patient and the doctor in their conversations?
Well, it's similar to the way abortion is being regulated and assessed at the court level as well. But it's basically the argument is that conversion therapy should be a banned practice, at least according to Colorado. And the reason is that it's regulating conduct relating to licensed professional giving mental health type therapy. And the opposing argument is saying that's not really the case. What it's doing instead is discriminating against viewpoint discrimination, because the person in this case is a practicing Catholic who wants to be able to discuss that type of treatment, basically trying to argue in some indirect way, perhaps. I can't speculate exactly what they're going to do, but I would think that the argument is that perhaps there's an argument to undergo that sort of therapy to prevent that person from stopping their ability to go in and become basically free from any sort of gay or homosexual or transgender type status. So basically the conversion therapy has been banned because it's trying to regulate a particular type of therapy that licensed professionals use, but the counter argument is that that's a violation of viewpoint discrimination. And what the practicing Christian wants to do is basically persuade the person not to go ahead and do any sort of therapy that's going to prevent them from becoming cisgender or basically heterosexual.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll watch how these cases pan out. Appreciate your time.
Oh, sure. Thank you very much for having me.